Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Duster, a podcast brought to you by the DVR Podcast Network. My name is Axel. Here with me today, of course, is Ando. We're coming to you live on the YouTubes. You can watch us each and every week if you subscribe to DVR Podcast Network. Follow the show notes if you're listening to the podcast. You can also go to dvrpodcast.com. Find out about all the amazing pods that we are recording for you as I move it's such a good intro, Ando, but I had to move my YouTube mic closer to me. Find out we are covering Sirens on Netflix. Anne and we just did episodes 3 and 4, which dropped on Daily DVR today. And we will be doing the finale, let's see, sometime this week. It's going to be fun. I think maybe even on Wednesday, my birthday. Today, we are going to be covering season 1, episode 4 of Duster, entitled Crimunalus Velocitus Super-Sonicus. Andy, do you have a better pronunciation than that for me?
I think it's Criminalus Velocitus Super-Sonicus.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I have been watching a
Andy,
lot of Looney Tunes with my boys over the last year, so I
yeah,
was primed for this episode right away when we start off hot with Looney Tunes. So
that's awesome. Yeah, this was really a fun one. And first of all, I should say that Heath cannot join us today. He is off there in Burbank, NoHo, doing
I think he
doing
told me he was
something.
going to light a fat one and curse your name goodbye,
Oh, damn.
like
Okay.
just like Mad Raoul does after he gets all
Yeah.
of his cohibas. So
I knew he was probably hanging out with Mad Raoul. I don't know what the deal was, but Solo. You can never
yeah,
trust it, man.
I
Those
know.
actors here. Hold on a second. I got things around. And all right, now we're good. Now we're good. Now we're good. But this was a great episode. I really think that the tone is perfect now. They there was a little messing I could see, but it's like I don't know what it was last episode, this episode, it just falls in perfectly. The mix of the action, the music, the 70s, the
hmm
camera work, the locations and sets, clothes, everything is just gelling
I think the
together.
cast even too. I think
Oh yeah, the cast is
they're
amazing.
it's like everything's become they're all becoming comfortable with each other in a
Yeah,
really fun way.
definitely, definitely. We saw the return of our not so friendly, creepy FBI friends.
Yes,
Very brief,
Agent
very
Grant
brief.
and I can't remember what the other one's name is. I think Chad Grant is the one of them, isn't it?
Yeah, and they're like Mad Raoul, who made his return this episode. We've been waiting. Well, he didn't make his return, but the aura, the power of Mad Raoul made his return.
And I don't know if Mad Raul can be as cool as Enrique the Blade was. What a freaking amazing that whole thing. I
Yeah,
just had a smile on my face that entire time. It was so great.
so did I. Yeah, that was really awesome. Shades of gave me a little bit of the old like Rodriguez
Yeah. That's what I was gonna
kind
say.
of
Robert
feeling.
Rodriguez,
Yeah.
Desperado, that
Yep.
kind of with the hidden knives and all that stuff, and just the attitude of the characters, and just very
Yep.
much a Robert Rodriguez feeling to it.
Yeah, it really did feel like it. And just, man, I don't know, you know, Josh Holloway is really I still like I don't know. I still kind of want more of Nina and Awan. I liked their story better this week because it was it was a little more propulsive, I thought, or at least I was interested a little bit more last week, kind of like walking around the sanitarium,
Well, I
break.
mean, we finally got something about Awan that we actually learned about him and some of his stuff,
There
which
you
makes
go.
it's a lot easier to buy when we know that he had to leave had to leave the reservation because his dad thought didn't think he was, didn't think he should be, and they had a huge fight, and he was mad that he's in the FBI now, and
Yeah.
that his mom is a white woman and his dad is a Navajo. I think that's an interesting thing too, and I loved all that. That was one of my favorite parts was that whole sequence in the desert with them.
Yes. Yeah, that part that I loved,
Hmm.
and that's why I say we got more. I think we got more of them moving, interacting with people. I
Hmm.
did feel like the videotape part was maybe stretched a little bit just to keep them in the episode, right? So we'd have
Yeah.
something to flash back to, which is okay. That's fine. That's television, right? That's
And it's
story.
it's an old Dharma style video, so of course we're gonna love that.
Come on, man. That's so awesome.
Which is
It's
great.
funny. I'm watching the Netflix just premiered, the streaming premiere of the, what was it called? Starting Led Zeppelin or Becoming
Oh
Led
yeah, the
Zeppelin,
Led Zeppelin thing.
the
Yep.
Led Zeppelin doc. And at one point, they use a damaged, the video was damaged, but the audio wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Jimmy Page playing, like, I think Black Mountain Side in the studio, and they put on the screen like damaged video or whatever,
Oh, yep.
and I was just like, holy shit, man, I'm watching a Dharma video. Like the whole time I'm watching it, it's like got the lines going through it, and
I can't
I
see
just
it.
loved it.
I think if hooked up one of my old VCRs and threw in a tape and didn't have the tracking adjusted, I would think about Dharma. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
it's a go-to now at this point. Anytime you hear any distorted video or audio. Yes. Forever will
um
be.
Love it. But yeah, that part was a little okay, but then when they got to the reservation, we're moving with their characters, right? And there's no doubt there's so many, what's happening with Jim involves a whole criminal underground, right? Like we're
Yep.
learning about everyone. So his story is really where this story, Sachs is who we're investigating, his brother died, but the Nina side, I still feel it's a little uneven, but maybe
Well, and
purpose. Go ahead. I think I know what you're saying.
some of it, well, it's some about that whole sequence. So I mean, some of it's like with them finding the missing dates and it matches up to the longitude and latitudes. I mean, some of that seems it might be a little forced. But I think the nice thing is it got those two characters away together where they're not
Right.
really doing any, and it gives us time to actually grow with the characters a little bit. So I'm okay with that little because it's pretty kind of coincidental, hand wavy kind of. Oh yeah, these match up to do that. I mean, it's a little convenient, but I'm going with it just because I love that scene so much and his friend that shows up that's the cop and all that Daryl. I loved all that. I loved all of that because I really like the actor that plays Owan, and I was hoping we would get more of him. So I'm okay with it just because we got exposed to his character a lot more, which I really wanted. So
Yes. Yes. I no, I didn't have Ando, I didn't have an issue with any of that. I just mean to say that while I'm watching it, I'm thinking to myself, I want more Nina and Awan,
hmm.
right? Because Jim, like this is kind of how I feel. The Jim part of the show is perfect. They know exactly what they're
Yeah.
doing. They have it down, right? The whole, I mean, come, we'll go through the episode, but it's beautiful and it's full of stuff we recognize, but they build on it. But the Nina and Awan is like they're having their own separate investigation over here, and it is, yeah, it does. It's a little Scooby Doo is what I'm trying to say. But I like that. I like this
Yeah.
Scooby Doo, but I almost wish they'd lean into it more. And with this episode, they were able to expand it. So I was happy with that. I'm happier. I'm still looking forward to it. I think the reveals are going to come. I think some of the reveals are going to come surprisingly on that side
Yeah.
because of the man with the hat in DC, which we don't know. Is that what is it called? ASAC?
ASAC. Yeah.
Right.
Agent Special or Assistant Special Agent in Charge, I think is what it
Yeah,
stands for.
ASAC, which I've heard before in other shows.
Yep.
I think there was like an ASAC that they taught in Sons of Anarchy when they're investigating them.
Yeah. It is an
There was a
FBI term, so for
yeah.
sure.
Uh,
Yeah. The feeling I get a little bit with this, and this is probably going to sound crazy, but I got it a little bit more in this episode too, is almost feels like, and it makes me think of the line a couple episodes ago when his dad says, sometimes you don't have to do it all yourself. It almost feels like they're building up a team, almost like an Avengers kind of thing, where they're building a team together, where like now Jim has the Blade as a good guy on his side, on Nina and Awan are together, and they've got the like the secretary or whatever she is, the assistant is on their side, and
Right.
like they're all gonna. It feels like it's building towards a big team up or something, if that makes sense. I don't
That's
know how that would
interesting.
work, but I just something about it just gives me that vibe of these and when they all come together, it's going to be amazing. And I
I
don't
like
know how
that.
it's and I mean Lost did similar things and
Yeah.
many other shows have, but
You're right, Andy, because we have so even on the FBI side, obviously I have Nina, Juan, we have Kelly, the cleaning lady who
oh yeah, that's right, her
right,
too.
who helps them out. The secretary that you're speaking of, I don't
Yeah,
remember her,
I don't know
her
if she's a
name.
secretary or office assistant or something, but she definitely is on
Okay.
their side for sure.
Yeah, you're right. And then
And
Jim is getting his gang together, and we got a little bit more of Sax's son this
yes,
episode, and we got to know him a little bit better, Royce,
Royce, yes.
and who, by the way, last episode I was like, maybe he's secretly he and Genesis, right? They could be secretly the ones who did this,
Yeah.
or they're against their dad. But now we have a little bit of a schism between them where we've seen she's an operator. We saw her at the Elvis party, right? Like
Yep.
she's doing stuff. But then she also complained that she has not yet been let in on the big business, right?
Yeah.
So she was complaining about that as well. So I don't know, that was interesting
And
too. The
there is kind of
snowbird. Remember, she was like, he won't let me in on
yeah.
snowbird.
Well, and I think there's gonna be a little bit of a something between Jim and Royce now too, isn't there? Because what's Jim gonna say when he gets back there and be like, sorry, he stole the car? I mean,
Yeah, and Royce also did. I was surprised that after the robbery took place, while Jim was almost getting murdered,
yeah, and
but
he
instead
freaks out
having
at him
some
and is like,
drinks.
where the fuck were you?
That's it, Andy.
Yeah,
And also, he has a lot of energy for a man that just had a heart transplant.
yeah, he
A lot
definitely
of
does.
energy, which makes me think, is he an alien, Andy?
Or a robot?
Or a robot? Come on, JJ, Latoya, you're mixing in all this great stuff. You got to start bringing in the $6 million man stuff, the
That's
sci-fi stuff. You know, come on.
I we'll get to him later because I want to get to him in the course of the conversation. But there's a couple things that came up again this week that I'm like, huh, that's interesting when you think about it in a different way. So yeah, I think there is some weird shit going on here too that they're just slow. That we're getting the slow drip on the IV here, but
It's not just 2001 and Omega Man posters in the
yeah,
in the movie room,
yeah,
folks.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
something
That Omega
else.
Man one, that was interesting too. That's
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting zombies, but maybe we're going to maybe he is a zombie with the heart transplant.
something big's going down. Um, excuse me. All right, so we have we talked a lot about what's happening in the episode, Ando. I think we're good. Good podcast.
That's a wrap.
I like
Um,
it.
some of the things I'm looking through my notes here. The We were told that Breen hung himself,
Right.
and Breen is dead. Do you buy that or not? I don't know if I buy that.
Um, I don't know. I think it sounds like the perfect type of thing where I hadn't thought about it, but it entered into my mind now, and it makes me think it is the perfect kind of thing that Nina and Jim are like, in a later episode, open a door and it's Breen and he's sitting there, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Did you follow? You followed the numbers."
Or someone else killed him to cover up what is actually happening because I
Yeah.
think he knows too much because the people know that they're there now. I don't know. I don't know. Something about that seemed odd that it would be just completely off camera, but
Well, I mean, it does, as far as conspiracies go, that fits the bill, right?
yeah, yeah.
I mean, Jesus, how many people do you have still every day talking about Epstein and
Yeah,
whatnot? You know, it's like people
exactly.
obsessed with stuff like that. So when
Hmm.
somebody mysteriously it's always hangs themselves, or you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah,
what? And
yeah,
he was
really.
in the sanitarium too, right? So,
Yeah, and we're
but
pretty sure there actually is a conspiracy on this show. So at least I'm
yes,
pretty sure there of
yeah,
some
I
kind.
mean, I think so too. And also, we've seen the security at the sanitarium. Not surprising. I mean, they were just running around doing anything,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
so
$10
him and her.
and a smile from Nina gets you pretty much
Yeah,
whatever she wants. So
exactamundo, man. Um, Something else I was thinking about, but it'll come back to me as we dive into the app.
in that same conversation where Abbott says that, he also mentions that Braddock is returning tomorrow. That's the ASAC we were talking about. So we will,
Yeah,
I'm guessing we will see him next episode, whoever that is. So
yep, yep. Very good, man.
if
All
it's the
right.
guy with the cowboy hat or somebody else. So anyways,
Oh
next, continue.
yes. Oh no, I was just gonna jump in, kind of go through it. I think last week it worked kind of well. I just kind of was
Yeah.
watching it and prompting us.
Hmm.
We don't have to do really scene by scene, but it is fun to mention, of course, the Fast and the Furious, uh, the little cartoon that they're watching in the beginning. I like that. I thought it was cool the way it turns into his mind, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it not only changes the obviously the subject matter, but it also becomes like widescreen.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So like it's part of the show. I
What's
like that. That
what
was
is
cool.
really, really bizarre is this is the second thing I've watched in the last week where the cold open is the Warner Brothers animation logo into a Looney Tunes style thing with a character imagining themselves in a Looney Tunes cartoon.
Oh, what
The
else?
Joker 2, Joker Folie à Deux starts the very same way. The first three or
Really?
f- the first 3 or 4 minutes are a Looney Tunes commercial
Wow.
with Joaquin Phoenix imagining himself. It's very brutal, but yes, it's very strange. I just happened to watch that last week, so it's the almost exactly the same kind of thing. But it's much, but well, both things are actually done pretty well in that part of Joker. I have other issues with that movie, but just thought that was interesting that that's happened a couple times now. I loved it in
Well,
this. I thought it was great.
we know why you were watching that too, Ando, because it was for
Yes,
the film list.
yes, it
And if
was.
anybody's watching this or listening and you like listening to us, you should check out Heath and Andy do a show called The Film List. It just launched on its own feed as well. So you can listen to that and also watch them, which I was doing last week. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We're getting up to speed on the film list. It's on daily DVR, but also it has its own feed now. Subscribe, like, review. That was one of
Yeah.
the movies you were talking about.
Yes, it was. So yeah, either way, I loved it on this one. I thought it was great and the had just it was just a fun way to start it. This episode actually has a lot of Looney Tunes stuff in it. That whole chase at the end is kind of a Looney Tunes kind of, I mean, much more violent, but
It's what, well, I mean, that's 100% foreshadowing, right?
mhm.
Like they're making a show here. I thought that was really cool. He has a little conversation with his maybe daughter, maybe not.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm just like looking through it again. His
Yeah.
face is there's so many good close-ups of him in this episode,
Hmm.
and he does have, as many actors do, that's why they're actors and actresses, just a huge fucking face, man. You know what I mean? It's interesting to look at Josh Holloway there. If anything, if this show, I hope it lasts after this season. It is getting great reviews.
Hmm.
I mean, it is one of the best reviewed shows that I've seen in so long. And mainly what people are saying is what we say is it knows what it is. It's
Yeah.
fun. The music is great. It's not pretentious or annoying or in any way. It's just a great, fun,
And
rollicking ride.
I think like my opinion on this is just solidifying more we're getting into this series, but like I think I said a couple episodes ago, this if they can somehow get this first season or renewed again and people can actually binge this show, I think this
Yeah,
is going to be an awesome binge show for people
yeah.
because it's
I
just
think
so
so.
damn fun to watch.
Well, it's been a while since we talked about it. We always used to say, like when we were covering Game of Thrones or so many different shows, would be like Westworld, not say like, hey, when we rewatch this will be fun.
Hmm.
Well, when we were covering Severance, which we did for the last season, season 2 of Severance, we said that too. And
Yep.
I look forward to, hopefully, it's not going to be a 3-year wait, but I look forward to rewatching season 2 of Severance,
Yeah.
not week to week.
Hmm.
And I think that Duster would be a fun one to rewatch too, because the episodes move so fast, man. I am never bored watching an episode of this show at
Yeah.
any point.
Nope. You're right. It's just so easy to watch. And I mean that in the best way possible. Easy to
Yeah,
watch. And, maybe we've got some hope because like they announced this morning, HBO is splitting off and with an emphasis
right,
on prestige shows.
right.
So,
Yep.
and premium content, which I would still call, even though this isn't on the level of The Wire or something, it's still premium content. So
Oh, yeah.
hopefully we get a renewal on this.
This show is ultra premium content. I think sometimes I think it's hard to see the money on some shows, right? And this show, if you're not watching it with that eye, it might be hard to see the money, but whenever you do anything, period,
I was gonna say just
yeah.
looking at the cars and all that's
Well,
the
we
out
know that,
wardrobe. Yeah,
Ando,
you're
but when
right.
you watch the show, you're like, oh, it doesn't look like Westworld. It doesn't look
Yeah,
like even Severance, where
yeah,
it looks like the sets cost so much money and it's lit perfect. It gives
yeah.
you that impression
There's not
that
5,000
right.
people with swords and shields, and
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. It doesn't give that impression for
But
sure.
if you're looking, you see the money everywhere because it's so convincingly like,
Hmm.
and the stunts and everything like. But it's just, I think it's very prestige, the people involved in it. And that's it. Yeah, they said that a while back that they were going to split up, and that's part of the name
Yep.
change and that kind of stuff. And what they're also doing is unfortunately taking out they're going to try to, I think they're going to try to split Discovery Plus and HBO Max apart again. They brought them
Yep.
kind of together. And I'm being a fan of dumb reality shows.
Yes.
I loved Discovery Plus. I used to be a subscriber, but then once it came into HBO Max, there's no reason to. Now they're
Yep.
going to separate them again. So this is just more way, you know what this is all about? Just the stock market. But hopefully, what it ends up in doing is, like you're saying, is I think it might end up actually being good for a show like Duster
I
because it's
hope so.
J.J. Abrams. They want to keep that relationship too,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So even if not that many people are watching it now, which is possible, people will later maybe, and they'll keep it going for JJ. Like give him another season. We want to
Well,
develop more
and
shows with him.
when I looked this morning and I went to rewatch it, and it was still this episode was still number 5 on the HBO top 10 list, which usually after
That's
4 or 5
yeah.
days, those shows aren't on there unless it's Game of Thrones or something like that. It usually doesn't
I
stay
like
on there for
that.
very long. So I thought that was
Yeah.
good news. So
Yeah. And it's hard to tell. I mean, I don't, you can never trust any ratings from anything, right?
yeah,
Like we
you're
thought
exactly
things would
right.
change, like, oh, everything's streaming. They can see when you're fast forwarding, rewinding everything, but they never want to tell you.
No.
That's proprietary information. So, but
Yes.
again, by if it gets renewed,
Hmm.
which I hope it does.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, the cool thing about this episode too is, oh, we get the opening titles in which we talked about this before, we see the Howard Hughes's car in the opening titles, and the fun part about it is it's in like a box, like it's like
A toy.
yeah, like it's a toy, not like a Matchbox car, which we
Yeah.
see later in the episode, in which these cars kind
Uh-huh.
of more replicate, but more like it's a special edition one,
Hmm.
like it would cost a little bit more and it's a bigger one,
Yeah,
like a,
it's a display car.
yeah,
It's not a
exactly.
Matchbox or a Hot Wheels car.
Yep, yeah. I'm looking at it right now and oh man, I love this.
Hmm.
I love that intro. So every episode, we're not only getting new things in the credits, but the old things are staying,
Hmm.
right? Like the Rolodex, the blue
Yep.
suede shoes. These things continue to be. So by the it does. I like the way it gives you a little spoiler, a little clue.
Just a
Like
taste.
Yeah, I knew that as soon as he
Yeah. Oh yeah.
mentioned, I
I
was like,
saw that and I'm
oh,
like,
we're gonna.
what in the hell is this? I was like, this is good. Whatever this is going to end up being, it's going to be cool.
Well,
It's
I thought it as soon as Roy said, oh, yeah, he said, I'm gonna go get something. And then
yep.
he went away. I was like, he's gonna come back with that car.
And I didn't
And then he
even, I
came
wasn't
back with the
even
car.
thinking about that at that point.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised by it. It actually reminds
I
me a
was
little
like this.
bit like Mission Impossible did that kind of where they would put little clues as to what was coming. So it's similar to that in that way. So I think it's a fun little, it doesn't really spoil anything, but it's a fun little Easter egg, I think, in the credits. It's fun to watch for. And I just love that theme song. And it's just a fun, and I did
Yeah.
think it was interesting that she got the car tracks and the actual tracks and the loop de loop in the
Oh, I
that whole
know.
thing.
I know.
It's cool. It's very fun.
Yes, it is. It is really fun. So then this is when we jump in. We see our, and you know what? It helps when I have when I do this if I put on the subtitles,
The captions, yep,
you
I
know?
always do.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to figure out the name, seeing if it's gonna say of the girl that comes up, Agent no, they don't say it. Okay. Is it gonna say it? So she comes up and tells Nina that Abbott wants to speak to her. Abbott says Breen is dead.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, that character's name is I have that in my notes up on the top. What the hell is her name? And now of course I can't find it.
that's okay, man. So they have that conversation, and Abbott is unhappy about this, but he doesn't like end the investigate. He's
Well, and he
sad.
says that Breen is the one who trained him when he got to the
Right,
Bureau, and
right.
he's the best of us, and he's all these other things. So that, yeah, it's, I don't
So
know.
that's what was that's what I wanted to point out about this scene because I'm going to speak for Solo because Solo's going back and forth about Abbott. Is he right?
Hmm.
Like we're waiting. I mean, we never know. I don't trust anyone in this FBI office. The only people I trust are Nina and Awan, really. That's all I trust.
Yep.
Not even Kelly. I'm not even sure if I trust Kelly yet.
No.
Just I got my suspicions. With Abbott, though, I expected there to be a fallout in the realm of blaming Nina for this, right? Like Abbott, when Abbott gets sad about it, and he's like, he was he was such a great guy, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
he talks about him like he was so smart,
Hmm.
right? And he was not just smart, but he was like intuitive and he knew things. And he's
Yeah.
spoken about this later in the episode too, which blends back into the MK Ultra shit, which I think is going to come up here, that he's part of some larger kind of conspiracy, right?
Yep.
In his logistics and what that he was involved with. Um, but he doesn't get mad at her and blame Nina.
Yeah.
He just basically reminds her about the ASAC, right?
Yeah.
And that
Braddock and yep.
Braddock and that he's coming. And
Yeah.
he actually, I feel, is kind of encouraging her that
Yeah.
this death has actually
Because
somehow made him think maybe there's a conspiracy. That's my point. It took me a long
and
time to get there. Sorry.
I think he says something too about I can't protect you if you keep like I won't be able to keep protecting you, so be careful. It's something like that. I think he says, yeah,
Yeah, that's what I mean, right? Like
yeah,
he's encouraging her.
yeah. I think he's
He's
reluctantly
encouraging her
starting
to
to,
go,
yeah, to see what
yes.
she's. That secretary's name is Jessica. The character's name is Jessica Lorraine.
Okay, Jessica and Kelly then are
Yep,
two ladies in the office who are on Nina and Awan's side. Good. It's
yep.
good to know their names.
And
You
the
know,
thing
just
with
in
that,
life too, right?
yeah, well,
People
yeah, of
can
course,
name.
whether it's your neighbor with a barking dog or anybody. So the
Exactly.
the one thing about Kelly too that I keep thinking is she still gave her that cactus, which I'm still like, is there something in that cactus? So I'm still not 100% sure on Kelly. If Kelly is
That's why
actually
I said
good.
I don't
Yeah.
know because and this secretary too. I don't know
Yeah.
because it's the FBI. Come on, something's going on.
Hmm.
Spookies. But then we get a nice a little meet up between Nina and Sax, and she's telling him, the ASAC's coming back, and he says, "What the hell is an ASAC?"
Yeah, that was good. That was good. And even she doesn't say what it actually, she just says, well, it's my boss. Even she doesn't say what it
Yeah,
actually stands for, but yes.
yeah. Well, they need to help each other, right?
And
She wants more
I like
info.
how slowly each episode, I think we're getting more and more of those two together. Each episode, we're getting just a
Yeah,
little bit more. So I'm hoping like the last couple episodes are them together for most of it because I think it's going to make for some great stuff.
yep. Well, he tells her about the guy with the birthmark on his face, and basically, and that's what I find interesting about this show, right? I wanted to just make this quickly is Nina doesn't get a lot of information from Breen, just a little,
Hmm.
right? After that whole rigmarole we went through at this sanitarium, which I'm not complaining about. It was a lot of fun. And now in this case too, from Jim, his little spying doesn't really get a lot of information, right? Like Russians, birthmark, Xavier. That's
Yep.
all we got.
Hmm.
Now obviously Xavier is going to come back into play at the end of the episode. We're going to find out that that's what's on our freaky lost tape,
Yeah.
as we mentioned. But
Oh, he
I'm
did. He does tell her that Enrique the Blade is coming, and then by the
yeah.
end of the conversation, she calls him Ernesto the Knife. So I don't think she was really paying attention to Enrique. So
That scene is great. They are great together, and
yeah.
you're right. I There's a great chemistry between them where they each push back on each other,
Mhm.
and I really enjoy seeing them
Yeah.
go at it like that on the
Mhm.
show. And I want them to be together, but I also still think, will Nina bring Awan on one of these get-togethers at some point?
I think she will.
I think she should, you
Yeah.
know? It's she may want to tell Jim first, like,
Yeah.
hey, next time we meet, I'm bringing Awan with me,
I
and then
mean,
maybe.
Awan is the one character in this whole show besides the two leads that I don't think he is some special secret agent or some kind of double agent or something.
No, no.
I to me he seems like the most like what you see is what you get
Yeah.
kind of guy.
Well, actually, I mean, yeah, what you see is what you get, but there's still a depth to him, though,
Well, yeah,
that I
yeah. I'm
think
not
we're learning,
Yeah, I'm
you
not
know?
saying that as a bad thing. I
Yeah.
just mean that as he is the one guy I don't really suspect of him secretly working for Saxton or him secretly whatever working for some other.
You had to do it, Ando. Now I'm convinced he is.
Like if here's the thing, like if these are the Avengers, he's the Captain America. He's the guy that I'm like I have no doubt he is straight laced and he is there to help. I
Well,
love Captain America, so it would
you never know. You might get a Hail Hydra happening from
uh,
Awan
that would
sooner than later.
that would truly shock me if that happened. But either
Um,
way, I can't
no,
wait to
I
see it.
agree. I agree. And the same with. I mean, I do. I trust Nina too. I think that we
Yeah.
know her
Yeah,
intentions. We
like I
know
said,
about her
between Nina,
dad.
besides Nina and Jim, like the side
Yeah.
characters, A1 is the only one where I'm like, I can't see him being,
No, he's awesome, man.
yeah.
Um, there's also, I like that. I wanted to I wanted to mention this on the show because we're talking about it, Juan, that I thought it was interesting that we have a Native American actor on the show and they incorporate the reservation and right, like that whole
Hmm.
world. And
Yep.
I've noticed in the credits that there is a gentleman named Lucas Brown Eyes who is credited as a producer, I believe, on the show.
Was he an
And
advisor or something?
uh no, he's a producer
Oh, just a
on the
producer.
show.
Okay.
And I had recognizing that, I said, "Hey, that sounds like a Native American name."
Hmm.
So he is an Oglala Lakota writer. His family moved to California so he could study. He went to Orange County High School of the Arts, which I want to, which is like the West Coast fame, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's how I imagine it. I used to teach across the street from the fame school. So yeah, that's cool. He in
Hmm.
2014 he was accepted into ABC Disney writing program, and he's worked on like a Disney show, Alexa and Kate, and as a producer and a writer. Uh, so I just thought that was interesting, because I think that's important when you see someone on the screen and
Hmm.
you're saying like, hey, it's good to have the representation. And I always like the representation that matters is behind the scenes
Hmm.
because that's how you get authentic, good
Yeah. Stuff in
characters
front
in
of the
front of the
camera.
screen, not a
Yep.
bunch of white dudes going, hey, we should have this character, even if it's well intentioned,
Yep.
the way that it works and doesn't come across as people being able to say, oh, pandering or complain about it or woke or whatever the bullshit they want to talk about. But to avoid that, the real way is to go about it well, which is to have a person on the staff that actually understands that character or can give some sort of insight into them. So
Yep.
I just wanted to mention that I thought it was cool. When I saw that name Lucas Brown Eyes, I was like, okay, that's cool. Let me look this guy up. And I come to discover that I was right. And that's what I like about this show. This is just a
Well,
cool
and
show.
have you, I don't think we've really talked about the actor a whole lot that plays Owan. Have you read anything about him and what his previous experience is?
No, I haven't.
He's mainly been a Canadian actor. He actually was
Okay.
nominated for a bunch of Canadian Oscars for, there's a show called a movie called Red Snow, and it's about a Canadian army serving in Afghanistan that was captured by the Taliban, and he was like the lead
Wow.
or one of the leads. Sounded it's got high praise. This is one of his and an episode of Letterkenny that he also did. Otherwise, I haven't really heard of anything else he's been in. So I think this is kind of his first major Hollywood exposure. So I hope we see more of him. I really like, and his name is Asavak Kostachin. I'm sure I butchered that name, so I
Okay.
apologize. But yeah, so I was I'd say I've really liked him since the beginning. I'm glad we're seeing more of him. So hopefully him and Jim do meet at some point soon. So
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, I'm looking at him now, Ando.
hmm.
He, yeah, okay. I want to see if I had seen him. I don't think, no, I hadn't seen, have I? That's funny though. You said that he was in Letterkenny.
Yeah, one episode of Letterkenny I think I
I
saw.
know. It's just funny because I think that's like the Canadian Law and Order
Yes.
is like like you have to have been in that show. I
Yes,
mean, that show
exactly
has like a
right.
million episodes,
Uh-huh.
right? And that they got like if they recognize someone cool, like this is a good Canadian, they come on the
Yep,
show.
they'll put him
You
on.
know what I'm
Yes, for
saying? Just
sure.
like Law and Order. They're like, who's in New York? Are
Yeah.
you in New York for the
Yes.
weekend?
Yeah.
Come be
Come
in the
and
back. Come
shoot
be
for
on
a
the
couple
show,
hours. Yeah.
right? Like
That's
every character actor ever. Um,
yes, exactly.
that's kind of funny.
It's actually kind
All
of cool
right,
about this show
good.
when I'm researching different things. A lot of these actors are like that, where they've had one role, two roles, not most of them not major roles. I mean, there's a few character actors like Corbin Burnson and stuff, but a lot of these minor roles are just people that are like really getting a big break for the first time, which I think is kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, then we kind of get Jim, and this is where Jim chats with Royce, and we see the cool posters, like we said, Omega. Now, Omega Man is actually is who's that? Richard Matheson?
Richard Matheson, it's I Am Legend,
Right, it's
is
I Am
what it
Legend.
was.
That's what I
Yep.
was for. So for people who saw that poster, if you think it's the same story. They did
Yep.
it a little bit differently,
The
obviously,
short
but
the story that I Am Omega Man is based on is titled I Am Legend. And then when they did the remake with Will Smith, they kept the original title of I Am Legend.
which is a much better title than
Yes.
Omega Man.
Yes.
Omega Man sounds to me something different, you
It's
know? I
sounds
don't
like
know
it could
why.
be a it sounds like it could be a pro wrestler or something. And not I don't know. It's
It
I
could,
just
right.
don't
It
yeah.
sounds like it could be a hero or something,
Yeah.
though it does have some sort of relevance because it does sound like medical, like, and it is
Yeah.
about an apocalypse and he's trying to find the cure.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, that's kind of cool. But so they have their little conversation. And one thing I wanted to say is Royce, in this conversation and all the way up until that very interesting part, which maybe we're just overanalyzing because we're on a podcast, but when he yells at Jim, where the fuck were you? Like when this was happening, like which is seemed off character to me. He does seem so gentle and nice, and he does have such a friendly face, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Or perhaps he's just an actor. We could all have a friendly face. Good actors can you control your face, but he had just what he's like. Maybe it's
And
just because
see,
of the heart surgery or anything, but
I
I don't know.
can't with that scene because I thought a lot about that too because it seems so out of character, and I can't tell if it was him like there's something up with him and something strange going on, or if it's just a reinforcing of what the Blade and Jim were talking about like 3 seconds earlier, saying, "Yeah, they're always just going to see us as the driver or the killer or something." And that's how
Mm,
Royce actually feels. It's like, dude, you're
yeah,
the fucking driver. Where the hell were you? Like he's actually treating him like he actually sees him, and he's just been playing nice the rest of the time. I think that's also a possibility there.
that's yeah. And we also have his father saying to him, was he crying again or laughing this
Yeah,
time? I
yeah,
can't do his voice is oh my God, it's so much better than
yeah.
mine. I
Don't
can't.
even don't even try to do Keith David. I mean, that's like
Jim,
Morgan Freeman or
I
something, the
can't do
all
it.
timer.
See, when I do it, I become more of Optimus Prime. Autobots, roll out.
So yeah, I think that's Frank Welker. You can do that voice very, very
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, the
Megatron.
oh, what was I gonna? Yes.
But
Well, I
going
think it's
back
time
to
to roll out.
Royce,
Yes. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, roll out.
There you go.
I think Royce is playing. That's what I want to say. Is I don't. This character is still interesting to me because Sax, like you're saying, he's having emotional ups and downs, which is a very strange thing to say to an audience when you're
Yeah.
just meeting a character, which
Yeah.
is basically just saying to the audience, it's almost like an aside, don't trust this
Yeah. Pay
character.
attention to that. And I
Yeah,
mean,
pay attention.
and everything with him is weird. I mean, we're introduced to him. He's crying because one of the other characters is literally squeezing his new heart in his chest. I mean, that character is just so yeah, the Royce thing, something's weird
Yeah.
going on there.
And he thanks Jim, which was nice for him to thank
Yeah.
him. Thanks for not getting the heart and for pumping it. Because he did look at him, remember?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. He looks
On
at him
the
and you can see the
table.
tear rolling down his eye, and it's just, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm
It's,
convinced that Royce did it even more so than anything. And that's why maybe I shouldn't beat around the bush why I'm obsessed with the character right now, but I'm even more convinced that he's at the heart. The way that he was complaining about the sister a bit and about the dad just a little bit, but then he's like, "Hey, I'll show you around." And then he's like, "We do this here, but this is the place that this happens." It just felt to me like I was just getting such mixed signals. Like
yeah.
you do seem involved, but you're kind of want more. But I don't
It
know. It
was,
just
I
I don't
also thought
know.
it was strange how he literally was showing him everything. Like
Yeah,
everything. You'd think that because it's pretty obvious that Jim hasn't been shown anything for all the years he's worked for Ezra or any of this. And you'd think that Ezra and those people would tell Royce, don't tell anybody what's going on here and don't keep it secret. But he just, I don't know. It's a strange difference because Jim obviously doesn't know much until just now. So I don't know.
yeah.
I can't quite reconcile everything with Royce in my head. I'm definitely I'm watching him more than most characters closely,
Yeah,
anyways.
definitely. We get to see Flea again. He's running static. Um,
Yes. What the hell? Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a good exchange there. But is boss busy? I got a question for him. If it's about that rash in your dick, I'd get that looked at. I mean, it's just, and that's when Ezra calls him, is that Rocky Marciano out there? Send him in, kind of. It's because
Yeah, yeah.
it's the nice reference to that amazing fight from last week.
And then this is where, Jim's doing what Nina wants him to do and what he wants to do. He's trying to figure out what the fuck's going on, and the best way to do that, get with the boss's son. So now
Hmm.
he's driving him out there. But again, he's getting in Flea's way. And if we
Yeah,
know one thing about the basis for the Red Hot Chili Peppers Flea, He doesn't like it when you get in his way. But
No.
also, I'm surprised he didn't make a flea joke and say, if you put a sock on that dick, maybe next time it'll be
Oh
okay.
my
You know
God.
what
I
I'm
would have been,
saying?
I would
Right?
have had to pause. I was laughing so hard. That would have been
Right?
amazing.
That would have been great. And then give him a little wink, like
Yeah.
everyone thinks I'm Flea. But he's a good, I shouldn't minimize the
And
guy by calling him Flea, but he's a good actor too. I
And
like
you
him.
know, when Flea is acting and stuff, he usually is not playing the nicest character in the world.
No,
So
no. Flea, but that's why it's not proper because Flea is a great bassist, but this gentleman is a better actor. Because one thing I remember about Flea is he was kind of the over actor. Like
yeah,
there was a period, like if you wanted a guy to be like, in the movie in the background or something,
yeah.
you could get Flea. But in real life, Flea's actually, his podcast is quite interesting. I mean, he's a super intelligent dude.
And the actor's name is Evan Jones, is Billy's
Okay,
name.
Evan, I'm
So
not going to call you Flea anymore. We're naming people today. We're being
yes,
proper, okay?
yes.
So we're calling you Evan. Evan, we love you. Now we get this is interesting to me, Ando. This part of the show was interesting to me. The whole Izzy and Bob Temple.
Oh yeah, the I like a woman that knows how to use a
Yeah.
stick conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, we not only so she's mentioned this to Jim before. We know that Jim has compromising photos of Bob Temple that he got by recruiting maybe his ex-fling, his
yeah.
friend who's
Some
done this before, and then her big boyfriend got upset and there was a big ruckus and fight. We remember this, okay? But he's got those pictures, so we get to see what Izzy's experiencing, right? And there's a theme in this show. I mean, Nina is the first black female FBI agent, right?
hmm
Izzy is having problems at her job because her sexist boss won't recognize that she just wants equality. She doesn't want special treatment, but it's like she shouldn't have to be made to change in front of men or have a guy
I
guard a door for her or have
I
guys
don't think
look,
he's I don't think he's the boss. He's the union head of the
you
union.
right. Okay. Well,
So
but I
just a little
mean,
clarification. Yeah.
he does have more authority than
Yeah,
her.
for sure. And he has the power to get what she needs, which is just an actual bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. So this comes up. I really liked, and we should we could kind of follow this through. We don't always have to go all in order and everything, but I liked their conversation that she had. I liked the way that she explained it, and I definitely think that this is going to come into play with that.
Yeah.
Jim's got to find out, like, try to help her
hmm
in some way or something like that, Don't you
And we
feel
have
that way?
yes, and we have seen at Saxton's business all the trucks there. So tell when he's gonna tell the boss or not the boss, like I just said, when he tells Temple that we need to do this, it's gonna raise the prices for Saxton's shipping. Saxton's not gonna be happy about that either. So yeah,
Right.
there
Yep.
was a couple of great lines there with those two too. And he's like, "Well, so you want special treatment?" And she just says, "I want equal treatment." That was like
Yeah.
all you needed. That was just a great little. And then of course he just
Well,
dismisses it by saying, I'll add it to the suggestion box." I'm like, "Oh man,
yeah.
what a slime ball."
Well, we
So,
hear this all the time. And you know what? It is June. It's Pride Month. Happy Pride, everyone. We love you. No matter who you are, we love you, people. But that's the same bullshit. Like, you want special treatment? No, motherfucker. We just don't want to be beat up for being who we are. We don't want to
mhm.
be not be able to get a job. Scoffed at, refused entry, asked to leave, going through the back door, all that type of shit. Wake up, Bob. Isn't that the guy's name? Bob?
Bob Temple.
Wake up, Bob Temple. Um, but I like this. I like that they're kind of continuing that.
hmm
Um, then we get the whole scene where Nina and Awan kind of he sees her doing her thing she learned from her ex-boyfriend. We learn a little bit about her background there, right?
Yep, engaged to her
Um,
college boyfriend, and
yep.
he wanted to be a doctor's wife and not what she is, so she said no thanks and went to Quantico.
Yeah. That's interesting. We I like that, don't you, Ando?
Yeah.
We're learning about them through
Hmm.
the mystery that they're on. And I also just liked I have to mention, as I'm looking at it, I was going to mention it anyway. I just like this set. It was very convincing. I
Yeah.
liked the boxes and the way it was lit, and it gave me a real feeling of one of the greatest shows in television history that Heath and I covered on the DVR Podcast Network, the best thing Netflix has ever done,
Oh,
Mindhunter.
yes.
It gave me
Yes.
Mindhunter feels, baby.
Yeah,
The
for sure.
colors, the gray blues, right? The bright lights, the but next to a dull light. It was a
Yeah.
mix. I loved it. And I love Nina. She's such an interesting character. All her little quirks that she has, the push-ups and the breathing and the thing, just she is just, sitting on the ground.
Yeah.
The way even the way in the scene with Jim, the way she flips back her jacket before
Yeah.
she sits down.
Yes.
This is an actress who is in control of her body, and she is a
Yeah.
very physical. The way
She's
she
excellent.
moves is, and she mentions Eartha Kitt,
Yeah.
and she reminds me of Eartha Kitt
Yeah, if we ever needed Solo to
too.
be on a show, it's the one where they actually reference the 1966 Batman series,
Yeah,
and he's
I
not here
know.
to. The other thing it was actually giving me a little bit of vibes of is All the President's Men. That
Yeah,
and it's the two people investigating that nobody thinks is going to do anything, and they give it to the people that like, oh, you don't really care, or Robert Redford's character, anyways, in that. But
yep,
that same kind of investigation thing, and just the in the cramped space where you just get the one light or two lights, and yeah, it's just a great, awesome scene.
yeah. It is an awesome scene. Um, so then we jump over and we get the introduction of Enrique the Blade, um, which was very awesome. And I wanted to say, my wife said it wasn't, and it's hard to see. But when his hand shoots into that candy bar, was
Yep.
that an Apollo bar, Ando?
No, I thought so at first. It is an Astro Fudge candy
That's what
bar.
she said. She said it
Yep.
said Astro. And I was like,
Yep.
good eyes, honey.
Astro Fudge. Yep. I paused it and had it written down. Of course I did. Yes. I
Astro,
also love the line before
Apollo.
that when he walks in and the guy that works there is like, I think there's something wrong with your suit. What happened? And he goes, some fucker on the road tried to cut me off, so I cut him off. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yes, that's
But
so great.
that's also um, foreshadowing for what happens later in the
Yes.
episode when they cut off the
Yes.
Mormons and the Mormons turn around and come
Uh-huh.
back, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of funny. But if Astro is the precursor to the Apollo bar, because this is 1972, and
Hmm.
did we see Apollo bars in the flashbacks? Or were the Apollo bars only in the current day of Lost? Because I don't think we saw Apollo bars in the flashbacks and any of the Dharma shit. I don't think they had any Apollo bars. I think that was only like mainly the Hurley and the we
Yeah.
saw it, right?
Well, it says it originally appeared in episode 2 of season 2 when Kate is tied up in the hatch in the pantry. So she must have found it in the hatch.
Okay. So Apollo bars, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's
Yeah, they were first found
yeah.
in the pantry within the Swan Station,
Okay. Could
and
be
it was
Dharma. So
the only food item branded packaging not branded with the Dharma logo.
which means it didn't come from it's post, which could mean that the Astro Bar is the precursor to the Apollo Bar. This 5 minute conversation only matters to four people if they're listening about Lost, but it also because I just rewatched the Cloverfield Paradox, which
Uh-huh.
I actually think is a great little science fiction movie that Netflix, it just people always like to shit on all the Netflix movies. They're not all bad. This one, I really enjoyed it. I love that whole Cloverfield universe, but the Apollo bars are in that too.
Yeah,
That's like a JJ thing.
I'm looking through here and I don't think the Lostpedia has all the appearances, and all of the appearances are present day.
They
There's none that
say
appeared in the flashback stuff, at
I
least from what I'm looking
uh-huh.
at.
Uh-huh. Axie got it right. I'm telling you, the Astro Bar is the precursor, and there is a whole story to this that is going to be in the Duster webisodes coming out soon. Ando's see,
Okay. It says that if you, I don't know if this is still active, but it said on the Apollo Candy website, it said that the manufacturers of the Apollo Candy Bar was founded in San Francisco in 1962, but ran into hard times in the 1970s and was rescued by the Hanzo Foundation. So it was around, but we didn't see any in there. So
dude, I totally figured. Oh my God, I'm telling you,
is
dude.
that the deal that he's working on with Howard Hughes?
It's, I don't know, maybe for the Lost Island. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Oh, let's just go
He's
full
trying to
credit
find the
account.
location, trying to
Yes.
get Eloise to tell him. Um, I seriously don't get me started, Andy.
I know.
We're
It's
getting into
too.
lost mythos over here, baby. Ando's having a coughing attack. But I think that this is totally what happened is that they ran into some troubles. They marketed themselves mainly in the Southwest as Astro bars
Hmm.
because if you look at it, it is an Apollo. It's like the Apollo bar. It's chunky.
It looked very
It
similar.
looks
I
just
thought the
like an
same thing.
Apollo bar, dude.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it's
come
basically
on.
like that. It's like Hardee's and Carl's Jr. It's the same thing, just a different label on it. Is that
Yeah,
what we're saying? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And then it became the Apollo bar. And by the way, that's Hurley was in California and all that. I don't know. I associate the Apollo bar with Hurley, but didn't he?
Yes.
I don't know. Was there some mention of something? Didn't he at some point, weren't they walking through the jungle and he said something like, I could buy this company or something, or somebody said like Hurley owns them or so like that. Maybe that was a theory. Oh, I think that was a theory we all may have had
I think so.
that Hurley owned the Apollo Bar Company, and that was, I
Yeah.
think that was just a theory. That was probably on Dark UFO that we had that theory.
Or one of the 4 hour
Yeah.
Lost Mythos Lost Rivers and Now crossovers.
The Lost Lowdown guys did an 8 hour special just about the
Yes.
Apollo Bar. And I listened to it 3 times. It was
Yeah.
great. We love you guys. They
Fun
actually gave us a
sauce.
shout out at one point. We should give them a shout out. If you're they're doing another podcast. Oh, Heath mentioned it. Covered Yellow Jackets.
Oh, yes.
Um, and yeah, those guys are awesome. Anyway, back to Duster. So we get the scene we talked about where Royce and Jim have a convo, and then Royce says he even trusts Genesis more than he does me. But then I'm kind of like, he thinks I'm weak, because he's always been sick. And
Hmm.
I think that's an interesting story. We're getting a lot of backstory with people and their,
Well, and
daddy issues.
both of Ezra's kids think that their dad thinks they're pathetic and not worth anything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Jim thought that about his dad too until the last episode when they actually talked about it, and I think cleared some of that up. But
You know what, Ando? It's almost like, and I don't want to be crazy here, but it's almost like if you talk about your feelings with other people, you can
no,
learn things and feel better and understand them and yourself.
no, you're full of shit.
I know it's very hard to do that sometimes. Say something like, I think you don't like me. I think you don't love
Uh-huh.
me. I need more attention from you. I'm feeling sad today. I'm not sure how I feel. I just want you to hold me, Daddy. Little things like this can just bring us all together, Andy. Just they can bring us all together.
Let's just have a
Um,
big virtual hug with everybody that's listening right now.
I know. We're much more, I think today without Solo, there's a certain lightness to the pod, but we've got to bring him into that. Next week
Yes.
we're gonna bring Solo into this love, to this hug that we're having. Maybe it's
Yes.
because I'm projecting that to him. You see, I'm sad.
Yes.
We're both
Yes.
sad that he's not here, so we're
It's
vulnerable.
well, it's a little more melancholy for sure. So yeah.
I'm vulnerable today, and without Solo, I don't know why. Anyway, toughen up, Foley. Here we go. That's my father talking. Yeah, he was crying. Um, let's see. So they have a good conversation, and Jim, they exchange a little bit how he wants more too, right?
Hmm.
Like I'm not just a driver, which we've heard
Yep.
before. And I have to think at some point there was an alternate title for this series called The Driver or something, but it's been done so
Yeah.
many times before you got to come up with a better one, which they
Yep.
did. Duster is a fucking awesome
Yeah.
name.
That's a way better
Way
title than
better, way better
Driver or
than,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. The Driver, Driver, Drive Man, Getaway
Baby
Guy,
Baby Driver. There's a million of them.
Baby
Yeah.
Driver, Daddy
Yes.
Driver,
Yes.
Jimmy Driver. Anyway, then we get a great scene with RB1, who I keep on. He was the running back, wasn't he? Or was the other
Was
guy
it?
the running back? I'm
I
pretty sure
can't
he was
remember.
the running back.
I can't remember which position he played. I couldn't. All I could concentrate on was the Hot Wheels and him with the mustache and wearing the cutoffs, cut
Right.
off jeans, and
Oh, I wanted to
I'm like,
mention
this
that.
is so hilarious.
The cutoff jeans were, and the tucked in button down.
Yes.
Yeah, white.
So great.
That was, he looked great. The shoes too. He looked, the
Yes.
mustache, everything's great. And it's cool that we saw that scene. She gets to play with the cars, which we harkens back to the credit sequence. And then also they have a really great conversation in which he encourages her to basically organize. I mean, you're in a
Yeah.
union, which is supposed to you got to organize within the union to
Yep.
get the voice of the women heard.
Hmm.
And it's interesting because this surprised me because this is something, obviously we had the old white guy, the mortuary guy or the medical examiner
Oh
telling
yeah.
Nina not to push too much,
Hmm.
and this we have the doctor. What's the doctor's character's
Uh,
name? Ando's our name man.
David's his first name.
Dr. Dave.
Yep.
Dr. Dave is a sweetheart. What a
Hmm.
great thing to say. And what a great way also to support her and say, yeah, I got this because I know you need a little time for yourself. You're under a lot of stress.
Yep.
And I hope that I think it's interesting that we don't yet really understand. We know that Jim is like, oh, he's still around, and there may be some jealousy there. We don't know why they're not together. We don't even really know that that's Jim's kid, right? It could
Yeah.
be Joe's, right?
Yep.
But I think it's kind of cool that that Izzy has Dr. Dave,
Yeah.
and I think that Jim would like Dr. Dave if he got to know him better.
Yep. That's the. This is going to sound like a weird mention, but the thing that it reminds me of a little bit is it's just because it's one of my favorite movies. It's the Royal Tenenbaums and Gene Hackman, how he is with Angelica Houston, and then he finds out Danny Glover is dating her, and he hates him and hates him and hates him just because he's dating her, and eventually by the end he realizes, you know what, I'm not going to like you, but I at least respect you, and you're taking care of someone I love. So I'm guessing that, I'm
Yeah.
thinking that's where this is going. I hope. Anyways, it gives me those same kind of vibes. It's been done in a
Yep.
million shows, but I like it here. I like all the actors involved.
Yeah, definitely. It was very cool. Um, we already talked about the scene between Awan and Nina putting the numbers together. They figure they're what kind of
Hmm.
numbers. I love that, right? It's a map. It's going to tell us where is it, the reservation, right? And then we're going to find out about that too. We get to see. Now, I wasn't sure if we had seen the Snowbird Mesa loading dock that is in the opening credits, but I was reading, I always like to read a couple like what happened in the episode to see what other people picked up.
Yep.
And a couple people thought that this was the first appearance of this. But I
I
thought
think
we had seen it before, but maybe I'm wrong. I thought it
I
was
think
episode
this is
two,
I
but
think this is the same one we see in the credits, but I
okay.
think the other ones made because they specifically said this is the Scottsdale warehouse, and
Ah,
Royce also says there are 12 warehouses, all based on the same model. So I think we
okay.
maybe saw a flash
All
at one
right.
of the other ones at some
So
point or
that
another.
doesn't really
So
matter.
Yeah.
But that's when we get the whole thing here with kind of showing him around. And then it's interesting because um some older gray-haired looking white guy comes up to Royce and is like, they're waiting for you, like a little stern, right? Like he was kind of
Yeah.
telling him what to do a little bit, you know? But the
Yeah.
way Royce responds to him is like, nothing, bro. He's like, yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah. The Royce, there's so many, and I'm sure they're on purpose, but there's so many weird inconsistencies with Royce's character that I really want to know what the hell is actually going on with this kid.
Really fascinating.
Yep.
And then Jim, of course, cozies up to
With the data entry woman.
yes,
Yes.
very beautiful redhead. Myself being a redhead, I always notice the gingers out there in the world and appreciate them. Many a ginger girlfriend has Axel had as well. Are we going in? No, wait. I'm sorry. I thought we were
That's
still
a
in therapy.
that's a different show.
And one of the things is she says to him, "I used to work for my daddy," and then they kind of flash to him, and he's like, he wanted to be like, I could be your daddy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying? Like it was very suggestive
Yeah.
language that they
Oh
were
yeah.
using.
For sure.
Um, so he looks up some stuff, and it looks to me like, he's kind of looking through it, but then he's called away to see the Howard Hughes car, and he puts it in his pocket,
Yeah, I was gonna say he said he would go
right?
throw it away for her, and he stashed it. So he took a bunch of the receipts.
Exactly. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because in his notebook, in his car, he has a little book, right? And he's been writing notes in that book. He also stole these papers as well. To me, these seemed like excellent pieces of evidence for Evan, got it this
Evan.
time, buddy, for our friend Evan to
Well, no,
discover.
that's the actor's name. His character's name is Billy.
My name is Billy.
Yes, you should not forget that one.
Now I remember.
Yes.
But I just wanted to, I said Flea so many times, I wanted Evan, the
Yes.
actor, in case he's listening, to
Yes.
know that
Perfect.
I recognize him.
Yes.
Evan, AKA the best name a person could have, Billy. Um,
Yes. Well, second best name after Evan.
See, it's hard, Ando, because I'm a big dude, 6'4". I used to weigh over 250, but I recently accidentally lost 20 pounds. It's totally
God,
true.
I hate when
It
that
scared the
happens.
shit out of me, dude. I don't go on scales. So on
Yep.
Saturday, I stepped on the scale and it was like 244, 5 or something like that. And I was like, what the fuck? And my wife goes, what's wrong? And I was like, oh my God. I was like having a panic attack. I was like, do I have cancer or something? Like, honey, I was like, I lost more than 20 pounds because I was up to like 270. I was getting hefto. When you
Oh,
guys were out
yeah.
here, I was
So
at
you
like
weren't,
almost 275, dude. You can't tell on me because I'm huge. You
yeah,
can't tell.
yeah.
And I was getting really scared. And then she reminded me, well, honey, you haven't drank any beer or anything since like September. You walk a mile a day now after dinner, and
Yep.
you've been stretching and exercising and getting out more. That's what
Yeah,
happens.
it's easy to take that top end off with exercising and diet changes especially the first 15, 20 pounds when you're that big, for sure.
I see what you're doing there, Ando. Don't minimize me, okay? Don't
I'm talking to
minimize my
my I'm
accomplishments.
talking to myself because I need to do that same thing. I've packed on a little bit of extra winter weight, so I need to start doing it myself. I'm trying to motivate myself by saying that.
Let me tell you something. The worst fucking thing I ever did was step on that scale because now I'm like this. Ice cream? Fuck it. I just lost 20 pounds. I didn't even try. I'm eating
Yeah.
all the ice cream I want. No,
Yep.
I don't. I'm
That's
going to keep walking though. I like it. It's good to be healthy. I'm getting old. I want to be alive for my kid.
yep.
So moving on, we go to we're kind of like at the back end of this episode, which is punctuated by more action scenes. But first, we get the very excellent, excellent scene of Nina and Awan in the reservation. We get to see a little bit of the reservation. They come upon the place in the map that they believe corresponds to the numbers
Yeah.
on the files from Breen,
The
and
burnt out car.
they
Yep.
find a burnt out car, which, as a fan of video games, you've gotta love, because you know how many fucking times have you been in a video game, you come up to a car, and if you're a fan of The Last of Us, you know what I'm talking about too, and you pop the trunk, and what the fuck, and something's in the trunk, right? So that happens eventually, but first they're visited by an old friend, which first it looks like they're going to be in trouble. But I think pretty quickly I could tell that the look on Awan's face had more to do with the personal ramifications than
Hmm.
Daryl the cop being there. Like you could tell they recognize each other.
Yeah.
And Daryl gave us a stern introduction, followed by, just giving him, razzing him, hey, what are you doing here, man? Hey, buddy. And I thought it was really cool. And you know what? I hope we see more of Daryl. I hope we see more of
Yeah.
the
And
reservation.
you know what? I forgot to mention Daryl before too. He's another one of those people. Like it's like they're gathering a team of people that they
Yeah,
can trust, and we're gonna bring them all together at some point. Or
yeah.
or they'll be part of some big master plan, some heist or type of thing or something like that, where we they all get together to do something, or
And
everybody plays their part. That's what I'm hoping.
I love when any of us, but especially you, come up with an alternate reality for the show we're watching.
Yes, I know.
Let's just write the show. They're going to need to get the band back together,
Yeah,
and
one of
I
those kind of
I
things.
love
That's
it.
just the feeling that I'm getting. That it's
I
like I said,
agree.
a heist movie or Avengers, just because those are the two things that have popped into
Yep.
my head. But those kind of things, it has the ingredients are there for something like that. So I think it would be very cool if they did.
I think it would be too. So then we get a very cool scene with him. They find the videotape and all that. And Daryl's message really is, you should talk to your dad,
Hmm.
right? He says you should talk to your dad, and I thought that was pretty cool.
He
I like
actually,
that.
Daryl actually said something too that I wrote it down because it's the kind of thing I tell people all the time. Especially, I didn't say it in his exact words, but he goes, "Sorry, all families are fucked up, you know." And him saying that like I have said,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
always say it in those terms, but I'll always tell people, dude, everybody's families are weird and everybody's families have problems just because like I've had people say, "Oh, it seems like your family's so normal." I'm like, no, 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 no. Some people are just better at hiding it than others, but everybody's family is fucked up and has weird shit. I love when characters say something like that because I think it's something that needs to be said more often, just in general. So I really love that. I love Daryl as a character too. Thought he was great.
Ando, continuing with our theme of breaking down male toxicity,
Yes.
um, Daryl just took away the argument,
Hmm.
the macho-ness, the dick measuring contest. It's like, dude, everybody has problems, pal. I know you know what I mean? It's like I'm just a human like you, and I'm not trying to get over on you
Yeah.
or hit you while you're in a vulnerable spot.
Hmm.
I'm empathizing with you, you know?
Yes.
And it's interesting because Awan, that he got up in his feelings, as the kids say, about that, but he's actually been quite open about his Superman wallet and other things with Nina, right? So this is kind of
That's
his sore spot, you
and
know?
how he loves Frank Gorshin as the Riddler.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, yeah, that's Superman thing. Yeah, I'm really, really loving the Awan stuff in this episode for sure. So,
Yeah, man. Okay, then we have the great conversation with Izzy and the gals, where we also get the great line, "Your daddy a baker?" Because those are some nice buns. That's a good line. Well, they kind of agree, I guess. What did you feel about the outcome of this? Because it seems like they are going to have some sort of general strike or rally the drivers, or and as you mentioned it earlier, I'd like to expand on that may then end up affecting the union guy, Sax,
yeah,
Snowbird, Jim, everything, right?
yeah. Well, I mean, I think what'll happen is like if Jim helps her, which he probably will, just knowing how business stuff works, and Bob says, "Okay, we'll put all this stuff in. It's going to raise the costs of everything." And then he'll when he talks to Ezra, he'll be like, "Well, well, I have to charge you more for this because we're doing all this stuff. And he's like, well, I'm gonna, and if uh, Jim already uses it to blackmail him, it's gonna get Jim in a shitload of trouble because Jim will have already blackmailed him with the same stuff
Yeah.
Ezra's gonna use later. I could see a
Okay.
situation where that goes to
Love
that
it.
area, if that makes sense.
Totally. Totally. I love that. I think that's perfect, Ando. Something like that is going to go down.
Hmm.
Um, so then we have a very extended sequence, which is, I love when I can time how long the sequence is, but it's from 34 to, it's 10 minutes. Yep. It's a little, actually, it's more than 10 minutes. It's almost 15 minutes before they get back to Nina. Yeah. It takes up pretty much the end of the episode, which is the Royce decides that they're going to go hot wheeling
Drag
down
racing,
the
yeah.
drag racing down the highway. Very reminiscent of the credits, of course. That was fun. And Jim warns them it's going to overheat. The car overheats. They pull over. They are accompanied by an older black guy who I thought that Royce would have some sort of, in this day and age, right? Some sort of respect here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he doesn't really. He really doesn't. And that was my first indication. I was like, maybe this is why Sachs thinks this kid is a punk.
Yep.
Because you pull into this, you meet an older gentleman, you're both black too. You don't have that thing where you can look at him and say to him, hey man, thanks. Like we broke down. Like, no, I'm gonna go down the road because it's a little cheaper or something. Like you're a rich guy, you know? I just thought that that was an interesting look too into the reasons that Sachs might have because the character of Royce is kind of intriguing us at this point.
Yeah.
Um, but eventually, of course, they agree because they don't want that, Jim was going to agree anyway. And I think Jim sensed at that point too, from the look at his face of kind of like, what the fuck, right? Like he was already
Yeah.
pissed that he was racing down the road, which was another thing. But then it plays into also what Sachs was saying. He's laughing and crying. He's crazy.
Yeah. The
So,
over emotionality
yeah,
and the yeah.
exactly. And of course, during the race, they sideswipe, they cut off the two Mormon looking guys. Let's talk about these guys for a second. Who are these guys? Where did they
Well,
come from?
I'm thinking they're just, well, unless there's something greater. It seemed to me that they were just a couple of thieves that they're masquerading as, like, say, they have a vacuum suck bumper sticker, so they're masquerading as vacuum salesmen, is my guess. I mean, they open the trunk and you see guns and masks and everything in the trunk,
Yeah.
so they're obviously out to steal things. And so I think it was just a coincidental thing because I mean, we really haven't been introduced to anything else that they could be a part of, I don't think.
No,
I
but
don't
it's a
know.
little, is it like, I don't know, a little John Wicky that we keep on running into like assassins and murderers and
In this case, for sure, but like most of the other ones we have, like Enrique the Blade, or I mean that came
yeah,
because of a direct
yeah,
action
they're connected to the story.
that Jim had. These guys just seem like they kind of all of a sudden appeared.
All right. Well, my prediction is that they are somebody's guys, or they are in
Yeah,
somehow we're going to hear about them again, or there's going to be some mention that there were these two guys dressed up as vacuum guys and they robbed somebody else. Or I just
yeah.
think that I think that if not, I credit the writers with creating such memorable and interesting characters. It does remind me a little bit of Umbrella Academy,
Oh, yeah.
where they had the suits, little Pulp
Hmm.
Fiction-esque,
Yeah,
you know? I like that. But
yeah. That's
this whole
interesting.
sequence is fun as hell. The fight with Enrique the Balloon Jim is that was some great stunt and acting. Like that was some good
And
stuff.
I love, I mean, it's probably a cliche at this point, but I love when two criminal guys are fighting and they decide to take a break to have a drink.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I love that always. That's felt like something out of a Tarantino movie as well. So Yeah,
Yeah,
or a Robert Rodriguez, like we mentioned earlier. Yeah, so it's I just another just amazing fight, and I like that. That's actually I think that's becoming the one of the staples of the show. I think there's been a crazy cool over the top fight in every episode now, hasn't there?
yep, yeah. There has,
Because
and yeah, that's why like he when Sax calls it back, is Rocky
yeah,
Marciano out there?
and because we had the bowling alley, we had the I don't remember what we had in the first episode, but we had the bowling alley in the second episode, and then last week in the bar, and then this week in the auto body shop. Yeah, just love it.
Yeah, good stuff. Um, I think the stopping to drink too is also for me was an indication of how the show found its tone. That is the tone that when those guys were chasing him and their car flipped over and they could have
Hmm.
been dead or not or whatever, and Jim just drive and they were kind of laughing and that seemed odd to me, but now I get it because it's kind of like if you're in the life, it's part of it. You're in the life. Like if you fuck with me
Well,
and
and
you
they
know,
it just they showed a respect to each other, and it was
right.
like when they come out and when after Royce yells out, "Where's the what happened? Where were you?" And he just looks like they said, "Well, the guys went west," and Jim just looks to Enrique, and they're both just like they just nod to each other and be like, "Let's go fuck these guys up." And it was like
Yeah.
it was totally unspoken. They both just got in like they had been teammates forever.
Yeah.
I loved it so much. And I should say too, there was a cool little callback to the blue suede shoes when Jim
Yeah.
offers him the blue suede shoes, and he's like, "Little Richard's the real true king of rock and roll." And I'm like, "This is just so great." That whole or using a fire extinguisher to fight it, just great,
It
great,
was
great,
great.
great stuff.
And Enrique's face covered with the fire extinguisher shit
Yes.
for the rest of the episode was awesome.
Yes.
I'm sure that actor fucking loved that.
Yeah, I'm
In
sure
the
he
hot
did too.
sun, driving around, having to get in and
Yes.
out, having makeup. We needed more white shit on his face. It fell off. Um, I thought the whole thing was exactly what I want out of this show, and it was very fun. And the driving was awesome. The cars were awesome. The knife was cool. Jim, of course, isn't a killer. He'll drive you there to kill somebody, but
Hmm.
he lets him take care of the knife in there and the knife in the back. And then they make the deal. So Raul's going to get the car. But this is the thing that kind of I don't understand, right? Like, is Enrique giving Raul the car and saying, "Hey, Jim gave me this car to give to you because he's sorry that he signed up to work with you and then decided to stay with Sachs. He apologizes for that. And in lieu of his service, he wants to give you this like hugely valuable Howard Hughes car that you're going to love."
That's what
But
I
it,
took it as. Did
okay,
you have a different reading of it?
well, I just don't, I guess I don't know. I guess I guess it seemed also kind of like he was giving it to Enrique,
No?
right? Like you take the car, but then later he said Raul's going to love this car.
Yeah.
So that's what made me think, okay, the end result is that Raul gets the car.
And like when they leave too, he says, "I hope you know I just never see you again." And the feeling is mutual. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
if Enrique was gonna if he wasn't gonna pay off the blade or pay off Mad Raul, they would probably see each other again, would be
yeah,
my guess.
yeah.
So
So that's I guess that's the way that goes down. And I think that I don't know, man. I'm really liking when Jim shifts back and the car jumps
yeah.
and then jump goes
You can
forward.
it's like you can feel it
Yeah,
through the screen. Yeah.
yeah. They do
Yeah,
they
but
do good camera stuff on it too. That's
yeah.
good editing. The editing on this show is exquisite too. Everything,
Hmm.
that's what I mean when you said like I just I think it does I see the money in this show and the
Yeah.
professionalism. This is a top tier production.
Hmm.
Everything about it is professional. Like it is
Yep.
just a great show. Like I can actually just appreciate it for its production values.
Yeah.
as well as that, and it makes me feel better watching it too. I don't know, it just makes me trust the show
Oh,
a
for
little bit
sure.
more. But I don't know, it just looks great. It's everything's great. And we run to but in between this, of course, we do get little glimpses of the videotape, them trying to figure out what Breen is saying. Eventually, we come to the end of the episode. Jim makes the deal, which is, like I say, it does seem rather shaky because until this is the way I always feel with Mad Raoul. Okay. And whenever I've had my dealings with him,
Yeah. Yes. I haven't had the pleasure yet, so
well, it can be pleasure or pain. In my case, I'm still
yes.
here. But um, Raoul, to me, Raoul's the type of guy that I need to look Raoul in the face and have him say to me, "Your debt is paid."
Yeah.
Giving Enrique the car to give to Raoul seems a little shaky to me. I trust Enrique that he's going to give him the car. I trust that
Yeah.
because there's honor among thieves. But I don't trust that that is going to be enough because if it gets out that you can do this to Raoul and just
Yeah.
give him a car,
Well,
you know what
and
I'm saying?
as much as I love the character of Jim, he is not somebody that's thinking 5 steps ahead. He's thinking 1 step every time. All of his moves have basically been, well, if I do this, I can get this person off my back and do that. And he's not
Yeah.
thinking, he doesn't seem to be thinking 7, 8, like he's not Ben Linus or something where he's planning, he has plans within plans and all this shit. He's literally going from place to place, just trying to put out each fire as it comes up. He seems like that kind of a character. So
Um,
I agree with
I,
you that I doubt it's going to be enough, but we'll
you
see.
know, when Sawyer became LaFleur, he took on these responsibilities that he never thought he could handle.
Hmm.
And he handled them to a certain point. But then when things got out of his control, he clammed up and he stopped trying to solve his problems. This was
Yep.
Sawyer's problem. I mention that only because we love Lost. It has nothing to do with this character, but it's the same actor. And it's similar, though. He
Yeah.
wants more power, right? But he's showing us, though, that he has to learn how to work with this. This deal he makes here is actually one of the first times we see Jim kind of taking control or trying to, like, oh, I got to figure this out now. You know, he's working more. But the little things he's doing, the way he got to drive Sax was by cutting the thing. He gets
Yep.
to drive Royce by talking to Sax, right? So he's working, but the episode ends with Awan and Nina hearing Breen in the videotape mention Xavier, right? And what's the exact verbiage here?
uh, Expose Xavier and his network, and until then, trust no one.
Uh, and then she says, but she's got a kind of smile on her face because she's got new information. She's like, fuck. And then we flash to Jim,
I was going to say,
and
yes.
Enrique's driving away, and he has that hands on
Yeah.
the hips, worried look, and his fuck is like, fuck. Because now he's got to go back
Yes.
and explain to Sax and to Royce what happened to
And
the car.
this is part of why I mentioned that line that Corbin Burnson said like an episode or two ago about sometimes you can't do everything by yourself or whatever that line was exactly. And I think that's part of
Yeah.
what's happening here is Jim is he thinks he's getting out of these messes, but he's stacking them up, and eventually he's going to need help because he's going to have himself buried under way too many and too many people thinks he
Yeah.
can't pay back all at the same time, and he's going to
Yeah.
realize that he needs this help. And I think that's what I think we're going to maybe as soon as the next episode, but I mean, it's just one thing after another where he just things keep happening, and he's like putting band-aids over things he should be fixing with surgery, kind of a thing.
Yeah. And also though, the thing is he has a great partner here who can help him more, Nina.
Hmm.
She's good at this, but she's a little pushy too, as we
Yeah.
see in the FBI, but she needs to be. She knows how to push, she knows what to do. So he needs to get her intelligence and her experience, and I think they need to come together they need to be sharing more
Well,
often
and
what's
th
going on.
that's also all the more reason to bring Awan in too, because he
Yeah.
also helps mellow out Nina's
Yep.
stuff, and he's so analytical and very good
Yeah.
at that kind of stuff. So
They'll make a good
yeah,
team.
yes, I
Because
agree.
yeah, Jim is kind of fucked here. Because not only, again, I don't trust the Raoul part of it.
Hmm.
Also, he is going to have to explain this to Sax, but also Royce seemed to develop some trust in him when he showed him the warehouse and the car. And now, not only is Royce mad at him, oh, he let me get beat up, but then you're going to come back and tell me that you lost the car,
Hmm.
which makes me even look weaker to my dad.
Yep.
So Royce is going to get even more mad at Jim. And even though Sax might say to him, whatever, you've been with me a long time. But then this is the other part I was thinking about. Sax ask him, why is Raoul mad at you? Right?
That's what I
Oh,
mean is
Raoul,
he keeps layering all these things and he's putting
yeah,
band-aids over them to fix them temporarily, but
yep.
he's not thinking four steps ahead. He's just thinking a half a step ahead of time, and it's going to
Because
come back to bite him at some point.
Right, because the reason why he signed up with Raoul is because he was upset when Nina told him that
Yeah.
Sax killed his brother or
Yeah,
may have killed his brother.
he's covering one lie with another lie, and
Yeah.
eventually you get your stack of lies will fall apart and bad shit's
So
going to happen. So,
I think, and on the other side too, we have Nina under pressure because the ASAC's coming in,
hmm.
right? And he's supposed to get there. So we're our next episode. So we have two people that we have not met, and they are two powerful people, and that is Xavier, who and the ASAC, right?
Yep.
Is one of them the guy with the cowboy hat
Well, and
that
Mad Raoul we haven't
Mrs.
met either. We
We
could have
haven't met.
three.
That's true. That's
Okay,
true.
sorry,
We
continue.
haven't met Mad. No, that's a good point though,
Hmm.
Andy. Because a Hallmark, we know the Lost type show. JJ loves it. Damon Lindelof loves it. Is the levels.
Yep.
You meet the kingpin, and then you find out the emperor has no clothes. Really, the kingpin is the person above the kingpin, and then you realize, oh no, this is a much vast conspiracy, and really it's somebody else. And I think that is also kind of a hallmark of conspiracies, right? Like you meet the one guy and the next guy, and there's different levels to get to the top of this pyramid. But I think that we are on that was episode 4.
Yep.
We're in for 8 episodes this season, right?
I
Are
think it's
we eight
eight.
or
Yeah.
10? We're 8.
I think it's eight.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I mean, we're covering the podcast. We should know, but I'm pretty sure that it is 8. But I will check again.
Yeah. I'll
Let's see. Let's check live on the show. The best part of any podcast when people Google things. Um, According to IMDb and Wikipedia, it is 8 episodes.
yep.
So we are at the halfway mark of this season. And actually, hey, Lucas Brown Eyes wrote the next episode.
Oh, nice.
Oh, and our old friend Michael Horowitz wrote the episode, a later episode. Because wasn't he a writer
So,
on Lost?
that name sounds familiar. Well, I think that I want to say Adam. Wasn't it Adam Horowitz that wrote on Lost?
Oh, okay. Holy shit. Hold on a second. Wait a second. Is Michael Horowitz? No, no, no. That's not Winona Ryder's dad. This is a different Michael Horowitz. Okay, no, this is a different person. Oh, no, he did. He wrote for Prison. He was a producer on Prison Break. No, nope, no Lost. I was
Okay.
wrong about that. I thought I recognized that
I think there
as
might have been an Adam Horowitz that wrote on Lost.
okay. I
That
think
sounds
there may
vaguely
have been
familiar.
two. Yeah. No, this guy did write 3 episodes of Prison Break, and he wrote a couple episodes of Turner and Hooch, um, and which actually I thought was kind of a fun show, if you want to know the
I
truth.
never watched any of the show.
It's kind of it got canceled, but it was with
Yeah.
that dude from
I think it even got taken
Josh
off of.
Peck.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
think it even got taken off of Disney Plus, actually. I don't think you
Write
can even
off.
watch it anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, another write off. Maybe it'll appear on the new HBO Max
Yeah. Who
when they
knows?
or when Netflix buys it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. But yeah, we're at an inflection point here. We've got 4 episodes left. Our mystery is deepening, and we are now on the hunt for Xavier, the Russian with the birthmark, and is the ASAC either Xavier or the guy with the hat? I'm going to guess that the ASAC is the guy with the hat. What do you think?
I think so too.
Okay.
And just because we're getting close to the end and I was looking through my notes of stuff that I haven't really talked about yet, there's one other person we haven't seen that was mentioned in this episode. And are we going to see Howard Hughes?
That would
They
be fun.
said Ezra is having a deal with Howard Hughes.
Yeah.
And I looked up, since we didn't really do any research on the Elvis Presley of it all a few episodes ago, I looked up
Uh-huh.
what Howard Hughes was doing in 1972 when this takes place. He was already in isolation mode. Like the
Yeah.
crazy thing. He was in most of 1972, he spent renting out in a hotel room in Vancouver, where he rented out 2 floors, one for his assistants and workers, and one for him. He was never spotted once in that 6 months he lived there. And
I got the imp yeah.
he
He was
also
washing
that's
it was Leo washing his hands all the
yes,
time in that
and
room.
the that same year he also bought a resort in the Bahamas, which he eventually moved down there and died there 3 years later. But he was not spotted at all during this time. But
Yeah.
he's doing deals with Ezra. I have a feeling we might see Howard Hughes. I think it would be cool. It could be one more major player, and he's
Well,
obviously powerful. He's a billionaire at this point.
yep. I think that's really cool, Andy. And it also Howard Hughes is at the center of a plethora of conspiracy
Yeah,
theories,
yeah.
as is Elvis,
Mm-hmm.
as is Elvis himself, about maybe even
Yes.
still being alive, which
Uh-huh.
brings in Joe. We got a good little conversation when Royce and Jim are driving and they mention Joe, like you. He's like, I was always in the shadow. He was like, you were in the shadow, but you made your own mark. You know what I mean? It's a little different, like just kind of trading war stories about having a relative that's larger than life, right?
Yeah.
Larger than them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I still keep on thinking that it's a connection, right? You don't you Everything's for a reason in a television program and a film. It's a
Yeah.
created world, and you
Mm-hmm.
choose Elvis for a reason. And and it's thematic and it feels, and Howard Hughes feels right for this show,
Yes,
that it
for
could
sure.
be some weird thing. For all we know, Andy, episode 8 could be everybody on that island,
I know. And actually,
you
before we
know?
get off Howard Hughes, I should mention if somebody is still listening, Heath and I will be talking about Howard Hughes on the next episode of the film list. So,
Nice. All
um,
right.
there was a couple other things before we go that I found too. The beer that they're drinking when Izzy is having the meeting with them is Heisler beer, Gold Ale, which is a very famous fake beer. It's been in Superbad, The Shield, Star Trek Enterprise, Parks and Rec, Stranger Things, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So that beer is a fake beer, but it's been in tons and
It's
tons and
awesome.
tons of shows. And just because the guy that plays Enrique the Blade, his name is Rigo Sanchez. He debuted on an episode of The Shield in season one. He also had a ton of episodes in Briar Patch. I know Solo loves that show. I never got around to watching it.
Oh, Andy
Animal,
Greenwald.
yes, and Animal Kingdom, a lot of episodes, and Station 19, he was in a bunch of. So he's been around quite a bit as well. So hopefully we see him again. And last I want to save is one of the crazy. We're gonna go to Crazy Town a little bit here.
I'm ready.
So at the very beginning, when we first see Enrique the Blade and he walks in and the convenience store guy is there, he's reading a comic book and they flash on the comic book picture. And according to Google, I did a Google image search on that panel that's on the screen, it's from an issue of Teen Titans number 58 that was published in June of 2008. Why
Oh,
would they put a comic book from 2000, famously from 2008 into the 1972 show? It doesn't make any sense. It's the issue is about Miss Martian, one of the Teen Titans, and trying to disrupt things, and she's an alien and all this other stuff. I don't know about that, but The fact that they put a 2008 comic book that was published in 2008 in this show, and they linger on that shot. You know the shot I'm talking about, right? They linger on that
Yeah,
shot for
no,
a few
because
seconds.
I am Ando, that's why you rock, because I forgot to bring that up. I wanted to say, did you catch what comic that was? Because that's a old JJ thing too.
Yeah, I took a shot of it with the Google image search, and it led me to that issue of Teen Titans 58 called Martian Terror is the name of that issue.
I'm trying to look up to see if anyone else caught this
I haven't
on the
seen
old
it any.
Google.
I haven't seen it anywhere else. I Googled the hell out of it. I even went to Reddit and looked, and no, I haven't seen it anywhere. So I don't know what's going on. But
Interesting. Well, listen, that is one of two things, right? It is a it's one of three things. A purposeful production error
hmm
because they wanted that feel or that look of that comic book in that
yeah,
shot, okay?
yep.
Or it is a real production error in which the person, when they
Whoever was
took
in
that
charge of it didn't
shot,
realize
right,
it. Yeah,
that's B-roll, probably like an assistant director or something like that. They didn't
yep.
really, they weren't thinking, and it got into the show. Big deal. Number three, it
Is the
is a
fun one.
clue, yeah, is a clue to time travel and general
Sign up.
sci-fi
That's why
shenanigans.
I had to save it till the very end because it was
Of
just too
course.
good to. It's and well, and we know that when you see things like that in JJ stuff, it's usually there for a reason, whether it's
Yeah.
especially media references to other forms
Yep.
of media. So,
Yep. So that's really interesting because let's keep watch if there's a we now another reason why that's interesting to me is because this is not the first time we have a mention of comic books.
hmm
If we remember, her comic book was stolen by her friend, and she and
yep,
Jim had a whole conversation about it in which he said, "You got to go and get back your comic book," right?
yeah,
and and remember we had a whole conversation about it was a specific issue which completed the set of her friend, who then kind of came in and said, I have the whole set,
yeah, and
you know.
that was not a real comic book, but that was called Mystic Squadron was the name of that comic book.
Right.
Number 8 was the issue. They
So
mentioned it specifically.
that's why if you take the time to create a carefully crafted world in which you get the right VCR, which I looked up and did exist in
Yes.
1972,
Uh-huh.
but you get a comic book which is blatantly on the screen wrong. I will say, if it's a production error, please no one tell me that this is lazy or bad. It's so hard to make a television show. I don't talk about that enough. I used to always say that because we would talk about Game of Thrones and people would complain. And
hmm
I'd remind them that there are fucking thousands of people working on that show, just like there are
Yes.
hundreds of people working on this show. And it's very difficult. There's so many different departments. You work a job. Didn't you ever have one department not communicate properly with another department? It's called humanity. So it doesn't mean they're lazy or bad or they suck or you should go on the internet and make fun of them. It just means that they're human. But if it's real and they mention it later and she says someone gave her that comic book, we want to find out who gave her that comic book. How did she get it? And
Yeah.
can we theorize now? Did Jim find it at Sax's place and give it to her? Like, are
Yeah,
we?
it's uh, something is there. I mean, it's like I said, it's the second time we've had comic books mentioned. It's and like you were saying before, everything about this production is flawless.
Yeah, dude, come on.
It doesn't seem like they would be sloppy enough to do that. And it's like the first or second shot in this episode. It's not like it's just some throwaway thing. And they linger on this.
I
I don't,
know.
it might just be a red herring because they do like to do that too.
And it's in the same scene where Dr. Dave gives her a matchbox set, which matches the loop and like the
Well,
thing
no, this
that's
this comic is not in that. This comic is when it's at the
oh,
store
you're right.
owners reading it. Yep.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yep.
It's in the same episode.
Episode is that. Yes.
It's in the same episode as when we see the thing which hark. So what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say
It's
is we're dealing with a show that's already doing this to us. Why would we not pay attention? For those who think we're nuts, and who for those who think, hey guys, I like listening, we're gonna get a comment on fucking Apple or something, YouTube. Guys, I love the show. I love when you enough with the Lost references and JJ, and all this kind of stuff. This is just a fun 70s show. It might have a little conspiracy to it. I only tell all of you this. Check back with us in episode 8. Let's see, because I am convinced, and I know you're already convinced, Andy.
Yeah, there's something going on here.
There's
That's
something going on.
some kind of shenanigans that we don't.
Nope.
It's going to be a
Latoya's in
major
on it too.
twist.
Yep.
Yep.
By the way, Heath
That's why
told me
she won't.
not.
That's why she won't come on the show because
Thank
she
you.
knows
This
we're
is
on
what
to
I
it.
was about to mention. Heath told me not to beg. He said it's unbecoming of me. But since we're so vulnerable today, I do want to say, Latoya, I follow your Facebook posts and they're celebratory, they're wonderful. I want to comment. I want to say, thank you. This is a wonderful show. Come on our podcast. But first of all, I don't know if it's really you because I don't trust anything on the internet after
Yes.
Donald sent us Heath's voice that sound exactly like Heath's voice. That's
Yeah.
AI. So
Yeah.
trust me, folks, the day in which you should never trust an audio, video, picture, or anything that anyone texts you or you see on the internet is today. And everything can be faked now.
Yep.
Audio, video, picture, which is still photos, everything can be faked, written, nothing's real anymore. We have to actually communicate to each other by human speech, which I know is difficult for many. But not us, Ando, because
Not
we've been
us.
talking for an hour and 46
I
minutes.
know we're pushing up to. We've over doubled the episode length, so and we got one less person.
You know what the problem
Oh.
was is I got too much sleep last night. I slept like a full 8 hours. So I woke up and then the neighbor's dog started barking. I'm like climbing the fence. I'm crazy, dude. Because the thing is, it sounds silly, but I get worried about the dogs. Like when I love my dog so much. When I hear that, I climb the fence and I'm throwing treats to the dogs, and I'm like, it's okay. And I think they think I'm some crazy person yelling over. Anyway, you have dogs barking too, don't you, Ando?
Yes, we.
Like constantly.
Yep, not constantly, but more than I would like. But I can deal with it. I love dogs, so.
Whenever it gets bad, I just think of you. Because really, for me, it's like 2 or 3 times a day, but it's pretty loud. They
Hmm.
go a cacophony. They go nuts for
That's
like 20 seconds.
that's about what we have here. It's not too bad. It's one of our neighbors has a bunch of dogs that will bark
Yeah.
something, and it's usually if there's something weird going on. So it's not terrible, but and ours does occasionally, but it's just when he sees a rabbit out the window and he thinks he has must destroy the rabbit or the
Oh,
bird. So
killed a wabbit, killed a wabbit,
yeah,
killed a
that's
wabbit.
exactly right.
All right, we begin and we end with a little Warner Brothers cartoons. Thank you, Andy, for talking with me for almost 2 hours about an hour-long episode of
Yes.
television.
See, so when Solo's not here, we just get all reflective and
I know
very, yeah, theorizing. We went down some rabbit holes.
we miss
Yeah,
him. We miss
it's.
him.
I think I'm just gonna maybe just log off and go watch some Looney Tunes, I think.
Yeah, I might do the same, but I will be back to podcast with Anne. I believe we are on Thursday. We'll be live on YouTube, probably around the same time, 11 or 12 Pacific, to talk about the finale of Sirens. And I think that Andy and I might be back on Wednesday to do a little Axel Billy birthday party. I'm going to be 51 years old on June 11th. And I always like doing a pod. Last year I didn't do a pod on my birthday.
Yeah, we should. We definitely should. I'm pretty sure. I'm like
But
99% sure I'm open, so I think we're good to
okay.
go.
Well, unless I wake up horribly depressed that I have probably less than 10 or 15 good years left in me, if that, I'll want a podcast. But then again, I looked it up this morning and I saw that Eddie Murphy was in a new movie with Pete Davidson and Keke Palmer. And I looked at Eddie Murphy and I said to myself, fuck, he looks good. And I
Yeah,
looked it up and he's 63.
that's. I would have guessed he was a
63.
little older than that, but yeah, 63. He's
Yeah.
still looking quite young though.
Tom Cruise, 63, I think, too. I
Yeah,
think he's
62 or 63,
63.
somewhere in that range. Yeah.
Difference here is that black don't crack, and Eddie Murphy looks to have no plastic surgery. It's
Yeah.
natural. He also took care of himself because famously Eddie Murphy does not drink or do any drugs, and I
Yeah.
don't think he ever has.
Yeah.
But Tom Cruise, let's just say Xenu is not good for the face. The hair is looking a little wiggish, and I've heard in the newest movie he looks like he's 63. That's what Solo said.
Yeah, I think his exact words were Tom looks tired.
Yeah, a lot of running.
Yeah, well, it's hard work running
It is.
running all the time. Just running
Well,
and running.
we don't want to make any early announcements, but speaking of Tom running, we may be talking about that. We'll see. We'll
Yes,
see.
still in negotiations.
All right, Ando, you told me you had 2 hours, and I took every fucking minute of it. So
Let's get out of here.
let's get out of here. DVRpodcast.com. We love all of you. So like and subscribe on YouTube. Peace out. Have a wonderful evening.